open door. We're so glad to see you here. If you can stand to your feet and worship with us. Come on, let's clap our hands.
Fill this place again with your song and flood our thoughts with wonder and awe, and give us a greater glimpse of a never-changing God. Come on, 'cause all we want, 'cause all we want and all we need is found. It's found in you, Jesus. Every victory is found in you. It's found in you. And open wide our hearts now to yours. Every fear, it bows down to but never changing God. Oh yes, 'cause all we want and all we need is found in you. It's found in you, Jesus. Every victory is found in you. It's found in strong enough to stand. righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest fame, but wholly trust in Jesus' name. Oh, we trust you. My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. Oh, my dare not trust the sweet his flame, but wholly trust in Jesus' name. 'Cause Christ alone and cornerstone and weak made strong in the Savior's love and through the storm, and He is Lord and Lord of all. Come on, do you believe it? Oh yes. When darkness seems to hide His face, I rest on His unchanging grace. In every high and stormy gale, my anchor holds within the veil. Oh, 'cause my anchor holds within the veil. 'Cause Christ alone and cornerstone and weak made strong in the Savior's love and through the storm, and He is Lord and Lord of all. Yes. And Christ alone and cornerstone and weak made strong in the Savior's love and through the storm, and He is Lord and Lord of all, and Lord of all. Oh yes, You are. Jesus. When He shall come with trumpet sound, oh, may I then in Him be found, dressed in His righteousness alone, and faultless stand before the throne. We're here for You, Father. Come and move. Have Your way, Jesus. And Christ alone and cornerstone and weak made strong in the Savior's love. 'Cause through the storm, and He is Lord and Lord of all. And Christ alone and cornerstone and weak made strong in the Savior's love. 'Cause through the storm, and He is Lord and Lord of all. Yes. 'Cause Christ alone and cornerstone and weak made strong in the Savior's love and through the storm, and He is Lord and Lord of all. And Lord of all.
Now, home is a lot of work. Just plain work. When work at home is planned and organized for cooperation, there can usually be more time for leisure.
I'm certainly in favor of those things. Leisure, fun.
Who isn't?
Wouldn't we all be happier if we worked out a little system for living together in harmony?
But how can we manage them?
We'll have to work out the full answer together.
Say, Mom, you're swell.
Most family problems can be solved through frank and friendly discussion, which points the way to a happy family life.
You know, this is beginning to be quite a family project.
It certainly is.
Good morning. Welcome to Open Doors. Good to see you here. This is an improvement over Thursday night because Thursday night I got up here to preach and I forgot my mic. But we figured it out. It's good to see you today on Sunday morning, second Sunday of the year. For those of you who have perfect attendance all year long, yay for you. That's great. We're glad and we hope that that resolution that you made continues for the rest of the year. We're glad that you chose to join us in person. For those of you who are watching online, we're glad to see you. On Thursday nights, speaking specifically to people who may be watching online, on Thursday nights, this past Thursday night, we started our first mask required service. So on Thursday nights, masks are required. If you're exempt or you have an exception, we don't care. And you still have to wear a mask, and we're trying to provide an environment where people feel a little more comfortable coming back in that may have hesitated. And I will tell you that Thursday night was a success. We had about 50 people, so it wasn't a giant crowd, but the majority of them had not been in church since March inside the building. And so that's exactly what we were trying to accomplish. So if you're one of those people and you're like, okay, I want to come back, but I'm just not sure, we would love to have you on Thursday nights. That would be awesome. We would be glad to see you. Next week, we're collecting food for the food pantry. And if you can participate by bringing spaghetti and tomato sauce, I think I got that right. If not, it'll be on social media this week, but I'm pretty sure I got it right. Spaghetti and tomato sauce. Next Sunday, if you want to bring it, it'll be distributed by the food pantry. And I have a prayer request today. Tomorrow, our daycare and preschool opens up. Very first day in operation. And they're working really hard. They've spent a lot of time trying to get ready, and they need some more employees. So if you're looking a job, there are some available, but because they asked me to work tomorrow, and that's how short they are. I'm just kidding. No, it's not like that. But we would love for you to pray about it. Okay, if you can pray about our preschool and daycare that's going to open tomorrow. Pray for the kids that come in, the workers that'll be there. I pray for safety and wisdom and guidance because it is a ministry of our church, and we're thankful that they get to do it, and we're thankful we get to do this in our community, and we want you to help us by supporting that. And the best way right now that you can do that is by praying for them. Okay, so we're talking over the next few weeks. We started last week on a series called Your Imperfect Family, and we're talking about subjects that every family needs. Every family in here, and all of you are a part of a family. You were either born into a family, you have a family, you're a part of a family. All of us are parts of some way a family. Some of us are married, some of us are not. Some of us are children, we're not parents. Some of us are parents, and our parents are gone, so we're parents of children, maybe grandparents. And there are things that we can learn. And the reason why we're talking about this is because we all, everybody in here, everybody watching, everybody that don't watch has an imperfect family. Last week we talked about the need to raise the spiritual bar in your family, the need to focus on things that were spiritual and drive that to some things that had to take place for that to happen. Over the next few weeks, we're going to talk about some important subjects related to family. In the next couple of weeks after today, we're going to talk about conflict, because if you have more than one person, you have conflict. Sometimes it only takes one person. Right? Sometimes they're in conflict with themselves. But It only takes two people to have conflict, and if you have any two people, at some point you're going to have conflict. So next Sunday, probably for the 2 Sundays after that, we're going to talk about conflict and the importance of it, how we deal with it. We're going to talk one week about sex and intimacy. We're going to talk about parenting issues, finances, but today we're going to talk about communication. I know some people who are better than other people at communication, but I don't know anyone that is perfect at communication. I know some couples who have better results than other people do, but almost all of us, if you ask every family in here, could you communicate better? 100% of the time, you're going to say yes, unless you're in a relationship. Now, I have had some people where there are one person in the relationship who thinks they communicate great, while the other one's like, yeah, you don't get to answer that question, you know. And so today we're going to talk about communication, the importance of it, and there are reasons why communication is difficult. One, we all see through different lenses. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different experiences. We come from different places. We have different struggles, different issues that we're trying to work through, and even right down to the words that we say don't mean the same thing to each person. You've heard me talk about some of those words like fine. Fine means different things to different people. Some of y'all are scared to laugh because you know it's the truth. Like, you know, because if you, for example, or I don't really care, that means different things to different people. All right. So if you ask me and I tell you I don't really care, it means I don't really care. Okay, I don't have an opinion. I don't care. Do what you want to. If you ask other people and they say I don't really care, what they really mean is I care. I just want to see if you can do it like I want you to do it without me telling you how to do it. Right? That's what they mean by it. Other words might be things like no. Like for some people, no means no. Like no, absolutely not, ever. For some people, no means no right now, but what I'd really like you to do is try harder. Oh, I could give you some examples. I might come back to it on the sex Sunday. How's that? See? I chose one, right? No means no, but it don't really mean no. I just really like you to try a different angle here, okay? Not be the same way. How about taking me to dinner? Y'all don't get so embarrassed. It's just life, right? It's just how we live. And so sometimes things mean different, or sure, or whatever, or do whatever you want, or I don't care where we eat. Yeah, I don't care where we eat until you decide where we're going to eat. No, I didn't want to go there. Well, you said you didn't care, but now you care. See, everybody means different things when they say. We all think we speak clearly, but we don't, because we're coming from it. And it doesn't, listen, what I want to be clear about right here is one is not worse than the other. Okay? One's not better than the other, but part of good communication is understanding the other, not just hearing the other, not just taking what they say and applying your definition to it. I'll read a story to you because I had some personal examples, but some of them I think I've shared before about the struggle to communicate, but I'll read this story because I think it kind of sums it up. It says a rather old-fashioned lady was planning a couple of weeks vacation in Florida. She was also quite delicate and elegant with her language. She wrote a letter to a particular campground and asked for reservations. She wanted to make sure the campground was fully equipped, but didn't know quite how to ask about the toilet facilities. She just couldn't bring herself to write the word toilet in her letter. After much deliberation, she finally came up with the old-fashioned term bathroom commode. But when she wrote that down, she still thought she was being too forward. So she started all over again, rewrote the entire letter, and referred to the bathroom commode simply as the BC. Does the campground have its own BC? Is what she actually wrote. Well, the campground owner wasn't old-fashioned at all. And when he got the letter, he couldn't figure out what the lady was talking about. That BC really stumped him. After worrying about it several days, he showed the letter to other campers, and they couldn't figure out what the old lady meant either. The campground owner finally came to the conclusion that the lady was and must be asking about the location of the local Baptist church. So he sat down to write the following reply. Dear Madam, I regret very much the delay in answering your letter, but I now take pleasure in informing you that the BC is located 9 miles north of the campsite and is capable of seating 250 people at one time. I admit it is quite a distance away if you're in the habit of going regularly, but no doubt you will be pleased to know that a great number of people take their lunches along and make a day of it. They usually arrive early and stay late. The last time my wife and I went was 6 years ago. It was so crowded we had to stand up the whole time we were there. It may interest you to know that it may interest you to know that right now there's a supper plan to raise money to buy more seats. They plan to hold the supper in the middle of the BC so everyone can watch and talk about this great event. I would like to say it pains me very much not to be able to go more regularly, but it is surely not for lack of desire on my part. As we grow older, it seems to be more and more of an effort, particularly in cold weather. If you decide to come down to the campground, perhaps I could go with you the first time you go, sit with you, and introduce you to all the other folks. This really is a friendly community. Now, we laugh at that, but there are times in her mind she thought she had solved the problem to say what she needed to say so everybody else could understand, and he thought he was answering the question. Have you ever been in a conversation like that? Where they were asking one thing, they were talking about one thing, something completely opposite, though, of how you were answering, and the two of you couldn't figure out why you couldn't get together. Well, that is why it's important to talk about communication. Clear communication is critical. And here's what I would tell you. Just because you can talk doesn't mean you can communicate. I know lots of people who have lots of words, but when they're finished, you have no idea what they just said. You're more confused than when you walked in. You got plenty of words. You got lots of information, but you didn't get communicated to. And communication is critical. So today we're going to look at Proverbs 25. If I'm looking for certain wisdom, Proverbs tend to be a book that I will refer back to often. And today we're going to look at Proverbs 25, 5 verses and 5 things that will help the communication in your family. It'll actually help the communication anywhere you go, anywhere you are. Here's the first thing. Timing is everything. Timing matters in just about everything. And usually there are people, two kinds of people. There are people who talk too early about something, meaning they address a situation that's too quick. And they're out in front and everybody's not ready to deal with it. And then there are people who put it off as long as they can. They're the people who I like to describe as they want all the lights to be green before they leave the house. You know? And so they won't do anything until the conditions are perfect. They say, if you're a fan of baseball, they would tell you this. The difference between a long foul ball and a home run is timing. Has nothing to do with how far they hit it, because sometimes a foul ball will go farther than a home run, but timing will change where it lands. The same is true in a conversation in your home. If you get the timing right, it can be a home run. If you get the timing wrong, it can be a foul ball. And when you say it is just as important as what you say. Here's the verse. It says this. It says, timely advice is lovely, like golden apples in a silver basket. A couple of things here, because sometimes we get carried away trying to figure certain things out. What's a gold apple in a silver basket? Is he talking about real gold? Is he talking about a golden delicious? Is he talking about a gold colored apple? Is he talking about an actual silver basket? All of those things burden you down. That's what I would tell you. If you're getting burdened down trying to figure those things out, you've gotten consumed in something that don't matter. Here's what he's trying to tell you. He's trying to say that good advice is lovely. It's decorative. It is adorning. It is precious. It's valuable. It's nourishing. He's talking about food to eat and things that we lay it in to dress it up. He said it's beautiful. If you get timely advice at the right time, it is an adornment in your life. It is a nourishment. It is a blessing in your life. And you have to, listen, right is not the only thing you have to decide when you're going to say something. Well, it's the truth, and the truth will set you free. But the truth spoken at the wrong time will cause you a lot of grief you don't need. Well, they needed to hear it. Well, decide when they needed to hear it, because everybody's different. Listen, if you've been married long enough, you should be learning about your spouse and your children and your parents, when the right time to talk and when the wrong time to talk is, when the right time to have a good, long, important conversation, when's the wrong time to have it. You know, is your spouse a morning person? Are they a night person? You know, if your spouse is not a night person, and you wait till 9 o'clock to try to bring up something important, you're probably going to get the bad side of the conversation. Okay? If they're not a morning person and they roll over in the bed and they still got crack in their eyes, you know, and toe cheese, whatever it is that, you know, matter in your eyes. And they can't even see you clearly. They don't even know if they rolled over in the right bed, you know, and they roll over and you say, hey, I got something important to talk to you. I'm telling you right now, I don't care how truthful it is, it's probably going wrong. Okay, maybe they're a middle of the day kind of person. Maybe you don't need to talk to them before they go to work or after they go to work, or maybe you need to figure that out with your children. You know, should I talk to them after school, before school? Should I wait until they've come home and had time to play and settle their mind before I talk to them about something important? You know, should I talk to them over a meal, my wife or my children? Should it be over a meal? Should it be while we're riding in the car? Should it be while we're in a public place? I know some people who need to talk about things in public places because it lowers the tone of the conversation. If you're that person, if going to the coffee shop to talk about something important will lower the tone and keep you from getting angry and hollering at your spouse, you need to go to the coffee shop. Timing is everything. And if you can't stop acting a fool in the coffee shop, you don't need to talk about it. That's a different part of communication. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But I mean, I've been in some of those places, you know, where it didn't matter where they were at or what was going on. Maybe you just need to figure that out. Should you talk about, listen, if finances are the issue, do you talk about finances on payday, in the middle of the week, or when everything's run out? It don't take much wisdom to figure out that when everything's run out probably ain't the best time, because everybody is at their high stress level. But do you know when we talk about financial issues in marriage the most? When everything's run out. And maybe if we talked about it the day we got paid, it would change things a little bit. Timing is everything. And if you don't get the timing right, you can have a problem. I would say it like this. This is 4 ways to look at timing and actions or communications or things you need to say. Here's how it affects things. 1, the wrong action at the wrong time leads to disaster. If you say the wrong thing at the wrong time, you're going to have hell to pay. Okay? 100% of the time. If you say the right thing at the wrong time, you're going to get resistance. Okay? So if you're saying something in the right way but it's the wrong time, you're going to get pushed back. Always you're going to get pushback. If you say the wrong thing at the right time, you just have a mistake. So, you know, if everybody's in a good mood and everything's going fine and you say something stupid or you address, you talk about an issue that you shouldn't be talking about, it's just a mistake. It kind of gets blown off. Everybody, I am having a problem with this headset for me today. I must have taped it in the wrong place. But it's my problem, not yours. But if you say the right thing, you say the wrong thing at the right time, it's just a mistake. If you really want success, you have to say the right thing at the right time. He tells us, he says, timely advice is lovely. Timely advice, not just the truth, not just timely. It's got to be on time. It matters. When you communicate, is as important as what you communicate. Second thing, listen with an open mind. Good communication has to be two-way, meaning you listen while they speak and they listen while you speak. Not be quiet. See, this is the problem that we have in marriage, is we think, okay, I was quiet while they talk, now they're going to listen to me. But the whole time you were quiet, you weren't listening. What were you doing? You were thinking about what you were getting ready to say back. That's right. You were thinking, that's stupid, that's wrong, they shouldn't say that. Let me see how I can defend that. Let me see if I can find a way around that. That's our natural inclination, is to try to come up with something to say back to them. But we have to listen with an open mind. And one of the struggles in marriage and family issues is that often the serious conversations or complaints or problems or places of tension, and it requires us to put down our defenses because we put up that wall. Okay, I'm going to be defensive. We naturally are defensive when we feel like we're being attacked or somebody's saying something to us. And we struggle to listen. Complaints can be difficult because they kick in our natural defensive mechanisms, and we put up our hands and say, hey, I don't want to hear that. Or that's not true. Or you can't say that. But we need to listen with an open mind. It says this. It says, to one who listens, valid criticism is like a gold earring or other gold jewelry. Now, here again, he refers to things of value. He points to earrings and other gold jewelry of value, things that they would have held in high esteem. And he equates listening to valid criticism to things that are of value. When we listen to valid criticism, it can be life-changing for us. He says, to the one who listens, this is valuable to you. Listen. Listening to valid criticism can change your job. It can change your family. It can change your health. It can change your financial situation. All you need is to listen one time. So if you go to the doctor and he says, you're eating too much and you're not exercising enough, and you go, well, you're fat, don't tell me. Right? Who are you to talk to me? To listen, because it could change your life. It literally could extend your life. You not to do, and had you listened, you would have saved yourself a lot of money. How many of you are willing to own up to that? Okay, some of you. Yeah, I have. When I was younger, my dad said, that's a bad idea. I was like, you're stupid. I know I didn't tell my dad that because I'm preaching. Right? I'm here today. That's how you know I didn't say that out loud. All right? But he was right about certain things. I'd taken his criticism and said, son, don't do that, or son, if you would change this, or son, if you would fix that. I've had it from people who mentored me and helped me, and sometimes I listened and sometimes I did not. And so there's two things here that I think are important. First of all, for it to make any difference, you've got to listen. All right? You've got to be a listener. There's no way you can evaluate anything if you're not willing to listen. But the second thing is you've got to determine if this is valid criticism or not. Here's some questions maybe that you could work through to see if it's valid. Because here, time out, let me just say, you shouldn't listen to everybody's complaints. Y'all with me? I mean, there are some people you should just let them and don't pay no mind to what they just said to you. This is timely advice, all right? I'm telling y'all, if you listen to everybody, you're going to somebody has an opinion, don't make it valid. Okay? The second thing after you listen is you got to figure out if this is valid. Here's some questions you can ask. Who is the source? Who is this person? If they're family, I don't care what kind of relationship you have with him, particularly if they're immediate family, husband, wife, son, daughter, mother, father, you should at least give it some credence. You're like, but my mama's crazy, or my husband lost his mind, or, what anybody else. And I don't really care where they're at or what, where they fall at in the world or what their opinions are or what's going on. They know you better than anybody else. They're going to have, at least from time to time, some valid criticism. So who is this? Who is the source? Second thing, is there any truth to it? Not is it all true, because listen, I know for a fact that most criticisms are not 100% true. And if you discount it because it's not 100% true, you may miss a nugget that would improve your life. Okay? Let me give you an example. You are on your phone all the time. Is that true? No, it's not true. It's not true of me. I'm on my phone too much, but I'm not on my phone all the time. My natural tendency is to say, you're full of it because I'm on it right now. Right? That's our natural. And we discount the truth of it because it's not completely true. And what we have to do is say, okay, is there any truth? Don't say, is this true? Is there any truth to this? The answer for me, okay, so I'm not going to tell you the numbers, but I get a screen time report every week on my phone. I make sure I know, and I'm embarrassed to even tell you, so I'm not telling you how much time. And I work a lot. Listen, I spend a lot of time working on my phone. I'm not just up there. If you saw it, it's not like social media is a big part of it. I'm working. But the thing I would say is it's more than I want, and I've made a commitment to reducing it by a third. I've told my wife I'm reducing it by a third, and there's a report that tells me on my phone whether I'm living by that or not, okay? Yesterday I made it, all right? Yes, yeah, you should give me a hand. You have no idea how much work that is. I'm just kidding. But if somebody says you're on your phone all the time, and I say that's not true, I'm right. But I lose. Valid criticism doesn't have to be true. The question you should ask, is there any truth to it? Has this caused me any pain at any time? Okay, has this issue been painful for you at any time? Has it caused you to... Okay, let's talk about the phone. That's easy. Have you ran into somebody because you were looking at your phone? I don't mean like in the car. I'm talking about, you're just texting away as you're walking down the sidewalk, and... Just so y'all know, this happened to me yesterday. We're down at the beach. I'm trying to settle something, that was going on. I was typing away, and I felt my wife grab me by the arm and pull me over, and I looked up, and sure enough, I was walking right into a guy. And he said, "You were busy. I won't go and bother you." I was like, But has it caused you any pain before? Has it? Sometimes it could be worse. Maybe you have been on it in the car and you've gotten in a wreck. Maybe it got you in trouble in school and you lost it. Okay, has it caused you any pain? That's the question you should ask. Has this ever caused me any pain? Is the person talking to me? Do they have any experience at this? Are they better at this? If somebody is on their phone more than me, telling me I don't need to be on the phone, that's a hard person to listen to. Right? And so we have to ask these questions. It is difficult. Listen, here's what I would tell you. It's difficult to determine the validity of any criticism if you won't listen. You have to at least listen before you can apply certain things to find out if it's true. Has this caused me pain? What is it that they're wanting to say? And I know we all have these people in our life. We all have these people. When they start toward you, they're going to complain about something, right? You know it. The question is, are we going to listen and try to get the good out of it? Because when we get good, valid criticism, it is valuable to us and can be life-changing. Third thing, speak truthfully. All of these go together, okay? And I think some people are better at some of these than other people. I think some people are good at the timing. I think some people or better listeners. I think some people are better at speaking truthfully than other people. And I would tell you that any of these, you're probably going to find some that you're better at than others, all right? And you should seek to improve the things that you're not as good at. And so it's not, listen, this isn't just the brazen truth. Don't abuse scriptures like the truth will set you free. Because the truth still has to be, the truth in love is how you got to do it. I say it like this. It should be a brick covered in velvet. Okay? It should be soft to the touch, but when it hits you, you should know it. All right? And so sometimes truth should be soft to the touch. Sometimes it's enough. Sometimes you got to throw it. Right? But you should always speak the truth. Here's why. Lack of trust is the quickest way to break down communication. People, if you don't have trust in the conversation, people will not listen to anything else that you have to say. And so trustworthiness is important. Speak truthfully. When you're communicating, speak truthfully. Speak the truth in love. Do it as gentle as you possibly can. We'll talk about that in a minute. But he says this. He says, trustworthy messengers refresh like snow in summer. They revive the spirit of their employer. He says people who can be trusted with the words that they speak, the message that they're bringing, are refreshing. Like, they're refreshing. In the summer, a snow would not only be unusual, but it would be refreshing, right? On a hot 90-degree day, imagine what that would be like if on a 90-degree day we could get about 6 inches of snow, and how fast it would be gone. Like that's when we ought to get snow anyway, is in the summertime when it can go away. But let's just say that's kind of what he's talking about, how refreshing it would be for us to be able to get it in summer. He says trustworthy messengers are that way. My personality wants trustworthiness in communication. Write down to the words you use. This is something I have had to work on. Because the maddest I have ever been at people is because they used a word they shouldn't have. You're like, a word? Yeah. I just gave you one a while ago. You're on your phone all the time. That is a lie. You never talk to me. You're always mad. Right? I'm not telling you things I've heard, but I'm just saying these are you never whatever. You always, or every time. Those are words. Or you use a word that is somebody this week used a word, and I felt it rolling up in me. Y'all ain't that way. So this is the one that trips me up. I felt it welling up in me because they said all. And all weren't even close. And they weren't even talking about me, okay? That was the thing. They were talking about an issue that weren't even related to me, but they used the word all. And I could just feel me on the inside going, that is a lie. And I so desperately want to tell you that is a lie. But I'm trying to get better at this because I can just feel it coming up in me. And my wife would tell you the maddest I've ever been at her is if she's used a word that I thought was wrong. And what makes me the maddest is when I say that's not accurate, and you dig in. I'm coming for you, okay? Like, if you're going to dig in and defend something that's not accurate, all right, I'm coming. I'm just coming. That's all you. I'm coming right there where you are, and we're gonna go to the mat. And I've tried to get better at that. So just so you know, I'll tell you what I've had to work through for me. And for the last year, every day it's been my prayer not to be combative about stuff that don't matter. But let me tell you. So if you push down one part of your personality, can I tell you what happens? It affects another part of your personality. I trust people a lot less at the end of this year than I did at the end of last year. Because if I can spar with you and we can jostle around and we can come to some kind of conclusion, I'm fine. But if I've got to hold my mouth and keep my peace and let you say something that ain't quite true, I'm not going to trust anything you say after that. That's just me. Now, some of y'all don't care. I know some folks that lies don't bother, exaggerations don't bother, any of those things don't bother, and that's fine. But here's what I would tell you. Disagreement and trust are not the same. I don't mind disagreeing with people. As a matter of fact, I actually enjoy it. I have spent 52 years. I think I've done better this year. I spent 52 years of my life looking for opportunities to spar with people, just to disagree. Even if I agreed with you, I would disagree. Okay? I'd just take the other side of the issue just for the fun of it, to see if you knew what you were talking about. Listen, I'm not testifying. It's a terrible trait. Okay? It's a terrible trait. But disagreement and trust are not the same. I don't mind disagreeing with you, but I have a problem if I can't trust you. And if you lose trust in your family, it's going to affect every part of that relationship. It's going to affect everything that you do. It's going to affect intimacy. It's going to affect desire. It's going to affect affection. It's going to affect communication. If there's not trust, this is how I wrote it in my notes. I would rather have a friend or a family member that I rarely agree with, but I always trust, than I would to have a friend or a family member that we agreed on almost everything, but I couldn't trust what they had to say. I would rather have somebody that I can trust and disagree with. I'd rather know where you stand and you know where I stand. At least then we can go in a direction. But when I don't know where you're at, when I always got to be looking over my shoulder to see where you're at, right? And this is true in marriage. No spouse and no child and no parent wants to constantly have to look over their shoulder to see if what they were told was true. They don't want to be told something and then something else happen. Our words matter, and truthfulness, trustworthiness makes a difference in communication. Speak truthfully all of the time. What happens if I hurt their feelings? Here's what I will tell you. Feelings heal, trust don't always. It's a lot easier to, and we'll talk about how to repair hurt feelings in a minute. It's a lot easier to repair somebody's feelings than it is to repair somebody's trust. Trust can take years to rebuild. Feelings can be healed in just a matter of days, just changing a little bit of your tone, your approach to it. But truthfulness, trustworthiness is important. Here's the fourth thing. Be transparent. You're not perfect. That's the first thing you need to get out of the way. You're not perfect. There's this tendency to hide. We hide our sin. We cover our flaws. We dress up our imperfections. We lie about our mistakes. We're terrible about it. I see people with their kids, and their kid gets hurt, and they're like, "Get up, shake it off. You don't hurt." Can I tell you something? You ain't more of a man because you said it didn't hurt. Some stuff hurts. If you ain't never been hurt, you've been living in a bubble. Some stuff just hurts. And listen, what happens when you teach them to lie about reality and what actually happened in their life is that they're gonna insulate things and put things inside that are gonna bubble out in other places, and everybody else is gonna go, "How did that happen? Where did that come from?" And it's gonna spill over into certain situations. You're not perfect. Listen, I hear some people say, and if you're here, I'm not coming after you. I'm just telling you that I'm not sure it's wise. Okay, that I hear parents say, "Our children have never seen us disagree." You are setting them up if that's the case. I'm not telling you to have a knockdown, drag out, call each other names, get out your divorce lawyer's phone number in front of them. That's not what I'm saying. But if they don't understand that two people that love each other can have conflict and resolve it, they're going to go out into a world believing that everybody is supposed to get along, and people they can't get along with, they're going to have nothing to do with. Well, welcome to 2021. Listen, you're going to have conflict in your home. We're going to talk about it the next couple of weeks. There is no way that you can remove conflict from your home, but you need to be transparent and say, and you don't have to tell them the details. You can say, it's simple enough to say, hey, your dad and I, your mom and I disagreed on this. This is why we disagreed. They expressed their case. This is the resolution we came to. We said some things we shouldn't have. Our emotions got out of the way. We shouldn't have, but we want you to understand that from time to time, you're going to have conflict with people, and you need to learn to handle it right. It's okay to have those conversations. Okay? Because if we're not transparent, they're going to walk out into a world believing, oh, my parents have never had a disagreement. No, that's just not true. Me and my wife have disagreements. And sometimes we have to, our kids are long gone, but I've had to sit the grandkids down and said, this is what Boom Boom thought. This is what I thought. I shouldn't have said this, or maybe she shouldn't have said this. And this is how we deal with it. Sometimes you and I aren't going to see eye to eye, and we're going to have to figure out how to resolve this. We can't always be around people that we agree with about everything. Be transparent. He says this, you'll understand where I'm going. He says, a person who promises a gift but doesn't give it is like clouds and wind that bring no rain. If you tell your kids it don't hurt, they think you've never been hurt, and they don't understand why they are, but they can't tell you because you haven't given them the right to tell you, and they're hurt, and you've promised them that if they get up and shake it off that they won't be hurt, and they get older and they realize it's causing them problems, and you have promised a gift that was empty. When you make believe that there's never conflict in your home, and they've never seen you resolve conflict, never had you talk about conflict, don't know what it's like, and they get out and they get married, and their spouse gets mad at them 6 months down the road, and they go, how did that happen? You need to act like my mama and keep your mouth shut. Or you need to act like my daddy and go to the man cave. Right? When they do that, they walk into a situation that they're not prepared for. You've promised them something that isn't going to happen, and it's just not true. I'll give you some other things where we promise. I'll be home for dinner tonight. I'm going to stop nagging, shopping, hunting, fishing, whatever you want to put. I'm going to stop. And then you don't. We talked about, resolutions. If you want some accountability, if you really want accountability, you just tell your staff, your spouse, you're going to do something. They will hold you accountable. Okay? And don't get mad. Or listen, this time of year it happens. I promise I'll go to church with you Sunday. Then Sunday comes. Oh, I forgot. I promised whatever, and I'm going to do that. Yes, I'm going to take time off. Yes, we're going to have a vacation this year. Yes, I'm going to not be work this weekend, or I'm going to stop spending so much money. Listen, if you say things long enough, people stop believing what you have to say. And in the home, it is critical listen, you're not going to be able to do everything you say. Sometimes you're going to say things and it's not going to turn out the way you said. Here's the part I said about transparency. If you do what you say and when you don't, own up to it. Don't come home and tell your wife that, they asked me to work late, when really what happened was you got stopped in the parking lot and you started talking about sports or politics and you spent an hour and you didn't make it home from dinner. Own up to it. Right? Be transparent. It's a part of trustworthiness. A person who continually makes promises but doesn't give it is like clouds and wind that bring no rain. Follow through with what you say and own up to it when you don't. It'll make a difference in your communication. Last part. Be patient and kind. Husbands and wives in this room, I know you see things differently. But if you can ever come to the conclusion that you're on the same team, you have the same goals, the end result you want, how you get there may be different. When I do premarital counseling, I ask lots of questions. But one of the questions I might ask is, how do you feel about discipline? One may come from a home where corporal punishment was the thing. Another one may come from a home they've never seen anybody be spanked in their entire life. Well, when those two come together, guess what? They both want good children. They're both on the same team to have good children. The problem is they both have completely different methods on how to get good children. And if they haven't talked about it and don't talk about it, they'll get mad at the other one because they're dealing with it the only way that they know how. There has to be communication. You're on the same team. And here's the other thing I would tell you is if you believe that you're going to resolve every issue, you're not. I recently listened to a book by Dr. John Gottman, and he said something that caught me by surprise. So I rewound it, listened to it again. I went back and looked at his notes on it. He said 70 to 80% of marriage conflicts cannot be resolved. It is impossible. You cannot resolve them. You have to come to the conclusion that this is how you feel and this is how I feel. And the reason is you come from such different backgrounds that you can't reach the same conclusion. One of you ends up having to submit to the other and say, you go. It doesn't mean you say, yes, I like it. Submission is different than agreement. Submission is different than resolution. And boy, I don't want to hijack this sermon with an Ephesians passage, but submission's different, okay? And sometimes resolution don't mean I like what you're doing. Sometimes resolution means I'm going to submit to your way because I'm just going to trust you. But we have to be patient and kind, whatever we do. And he says this, he says, patience can persuade a prince, and soft speech can break bones. He says, be patient with your spouse, with your children. There are regrets that you have as you get older. For me, one of the regrets I have as a parent was I wish I had more patience with my children. I was young. I was busy. I was chasing a dream. I was working hard. I owned a business. I pastored a church. And I can't tell you how many times I said, I'm busy. Not now. Maybe later. I'm a grandfather now. We had all 3 grandkids yesterday. And sometimes my kids will see me with my grandkids. And they will go, who stole my daddy? Because now I have time. Rarely. Now sometimes I will. Okay? Sometimes I'll say, I'm busy, I can't. But almost, I would tell you the majority of the time. If they come to talk, they want to play, they want me to do something, I'm going to try. I'm not going to brush them away and say, I'm too busy, I can't. I'm going to have patience with them. And when they don't get it right, I'm not going to be difficult. I'm not going to hurt them. I'm not going to, be difficult on them. If they interrupt me, I'm not going to say something I shouldn't say or push them away. I'm going to be patient with them. Patience in your family can be family altering. Just having a little patience to sit and listen, a little patience to pay attention to what's being said, having just a little bit of patience. And then he says, and soft speech can break bones. The picture here, the soft speech can break bones, has some allusions to some other verses. As a matter of fact, if you were to look at some cross references, you would find that it speaks of things like oil. And how you can take oil to hard leather and you can massage that oil into the hard leather and that hard leather will soften up. Soft words are that way. Soft words can remove hard feelings. pulling back and lowering your tone, watching what you have to say, having a little bit of gentleness when you speak, some softness when you speak, some respect when you speak. You can disagree without being disagreeable. Your tone matters when you communicate. Listen. Take out the trash is different than when you get a minute. Would you take out the trash for me? Hey, we're struggling financially. I would like to talk about a budget is different than you spend too much money. How you say it, the tone you use. He says soft speech. When you communicate, it should be like oil on leather. It protects, it softens, it helps. Listen, too often, I'm guilty, okay? I'm not standing up here holding up a sign that I'm better at this. Too often our tone tells a different story. Too often our lack of gentleness tells a story that we're mad when maybe we're not really mad. Our softness doesn't show up. And we have to work on that. But like I read something, and I would tell you it's a difference maker. If you have something serious to talk to your spouse about, sit down in a place close enough that you can touch them and they can touch you back. Even if it's just touching feet. It will change your tone. You can't hold their hand and holler at them. Right? It's whatever you've got to do. If you've got to go to the coffee shop, if you got to go to the mall, whatever you got to do. If you got to go to a counselor to be able to do it, do what you got to do. Bring the rhetoric down. Bring the tone down. Listen, I would tell you, in our nation, our rhetoric and our tone needs to come down some. But it's not going to come down in our nation until it comes down in our house. Until it comes down between husbands and wives and parents and children and relatives. And it's got to start there. We've got to lower the language. We got to soften things up. We got to be people who pour oil on hard things and rub it in. Not people who are fanning flames and lighting torches. God called us to that. My wife deserves me to be oil in her life, and I deserve her to be oil in my life. My children need me to be oil in their life. The thing that brings softness, that brings conditioning, that helps. My words have to be that. I need to have patience. Patience can be persuasive, and soft speech can break the hardest of situations. And I know, like, some of you are like, you don't know the conflict we have. That's fine. The next couple of weeks we're going to talk about conflict. But what I want to tell you is lower the tone in the house. Bring it down. Be kind. Think about how you, not what you said, how did you say it, and when did you say it? You're like, I said what I needed to say, and what I said was right. But how did you say it? When did you say it? Those things are just as important. The Bible tells us. So listen, this isn't some marriage seminar. I'm up here talking a bunch of junk. The Bible tells us soft speech, oil on leather can soften things up. How we approach our husband and our wife, how we approach our children. Listen, there's nobody in this room, I don't think, that has to work harder at pulling their tone back than me. I stand up here, I could preach without a microphone and all of you could hear it. So imagine what that comes across. I'm 6'2". I talk down to most everybody, because of my height. And so, and I got a big voice that's fairly low. And when I talk, if I don't watch it, it can be too much. But in my home, I need to be especially intentional. Because my wife needs me to be oil in her life just as much as I need her to be oil in mine. Will you stand? pray. Dear Heavenly Father, all of us are a part of some circle, some group, some fabric that we call family. Husbands, wives, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, sons, and daughters. God, I didn't expect to make an allusion to our country when I started this sermon, but Lord, I ask for some softening of rhetoric in our land. I ask, God, that it starts in our home, that the words we speak become oil to leather and not matches to hay. God, help us to be people for our husbands and our wives, our sons and our daughters, our mothers and our fathers who have patience, who provide a softening to the hardest places of our life, the most difficult, hardened hearts. God, may we see the oil of soft speech work through our homes. Help us to listen better, to speak truthfully, to be transparent. God, to do the things, to seek out the time we need to talk so that our home draws closer, our marriages get stronger, not further apart. May communication levels rise, not be depleted. God, may we find more ways to come together and not more ways to separate. May we not pretend that we're perfect, but acknowledge our flaws so that other people can grow from it. May we honor you in all that we do. God, I pray for every mother, father, son, daughter, husband, wife in this room. You know the challenges they have, the struggles that they're going through. You know the pain that they feel. You know the things that they need to work on. God, you know my own heart and what I need and where I am. And I ask, Lord, that you help us to be better communicators so that our homes are stronger. In Jesus' name, amen and amen. I thank you for being here today. I hope you'll be back next week as we talk about conflict. I think it's important. I'm pretty open. Like I don't mind telling you where I struggle, and I hope that you will find places that you can find hope and encouragement and strength and improvement in your home, because as our homes improve, our church improves. As our homes improve, our nation improves. And I'm praying for our homes to grow and to prosper because we seek after him. I thank Olivia for being with us again today to lead worship. It's a privilege to have her here again this Sunday, and thankful for her work and her ministry here. And I ask as you leave, if you're a person who gives in person, you can give in the lobby on the right, in a bucket on the left, in a drop box. If you give online, thank you for that. And let me just say this, because this was the first week I saw the numbers. I didn't see the final number until this past week. But it came at a time when, just a matter of days, I just talked to a friend who has a church a little smaller than ours. They had been closed since March. And he told me this past week, he said, we're probably not reopening because financially we can't figure out how to make it work. We've lost so much money over the last few months. He said, I think we're probably going to disband. We had a guy apply for a job here from a church that was over 1,500. And they shut down in March and are not going back because financially the church wasn't viable. And if you'd told me in March that we could shut down for 3 months and we would have the year that we had, I would have said it was impossible, because I've seen us miss one Sunday because of snow or hurricane and give and dip. And I know the difference that it made. But in 2020, your faithfulness to giving here, those of you who give online, those of you who give in person, our giving was up 19% in 2020. That's incredible. Like I'm just telling you how incredible that is. That is attributed to your faithfulness to continue to give. We hadn't given a missionary their money, and there are missionaries right now that are on furlough wondering when they're ever going to go back because they've lost so much support. We've been able to buy land for our Bertie campus, and soon we'll present some drawings that you'll be able to see because they're going to be building before too long. The daycare's opening tomorrow, yeah, and it's because of your faithfulness. And I want to say a genuine thank you for your faithfulness this year. In even the strangest of times, you have been faithful, and we're thankful for that. God bless you. Have a great day in Jesus. We'll see you next Sunday.